Good morning. Hi. How are you doing? Wednesday, 29th September. A little late to the party. There you go. Been walking the dog, as you do, of a morning. It's cold, isn't it? Tell you what. Autumnal tones in the trees and in the air, definitely. Um, but I've got my Earl Grey, so all is well. All is well in the world. Um, so today, managing the peaks and troughs, riding the waves, riding the peaks and troughs. That's what life's all about, isn't it? Life's peaks and troughs. We're dead busy, and sometimes not so busy. So we've got the trough of busy, the peak of busyness, and the trough of a little bit less to do. And I'm sure some of you feel that you never get a trough. I think that's how it is for some people at work, isn't it? There aren't any troughs; they're all just peaks. But so I think some of us work on a kind of peaks and troughs system that's kind of possibly even hours long. You know what I mean? So you might have a peak of activity for a couple of hours, and then you might get a little respite from that activity. Depends on the job you do. Sometimes some of us our peak is a few days, and then we get a trough of a day when there's a little bit less kind of work to do. And sometimes, for some of us it's a bit longer than that. You have busy weeks, and then you maybe get a week where things aren't as busy. And I'm thinking of this, I suppose, at the minute because in the academic calendar where I work in my lecturing role, um, we're in a peak at the minute. New students arrived last week. It was induction week, and then teachers started, and this is a pretty long peak for us. It has a dip in the middle because there's a reading week, so that gives you a bit of respite maybe in the middle of the middle of this period. But this is largely a peak through to about Christmas, and then we get a bit of a trough. Christmas into the new year, then it peaks again into semester 2 and 3. So we're kind of hitting a peak. So and in amongst this big peak, there'll be undulations as we go along. And the secret of managing the peaks is how you manage the troughs. Um, because there's a tendency, and again, as you know, with me, this is very much self-reflection as well. This is very much kind of what I understand about myself. So this is not a criticism. It's just, I think, the way that our psychology works. When you're in a trough, there's a tendency to procrastinate, take a break, think, oh, this is great, I've got a canny day. And you end up wasting a lot of the time, I think, in the trough sometimes because you do things that maybe feel as though you've now got a chance to get them out of the way, but they're not as important as maybe you think they are. So I think when we're in this trough, procrastination, poor allocation of task to time, because because we're in a trough. We're chilling, you know what I mean? And like I say, this trough could be an hour, it could be a week, it could be a month for some people, depending on your jobs. So when we're in this trough, there's a tendency to take our foot off the gas and go a lot slower than when we're in a peak. And the secret for me, and this is tough to start with, but it gets easier because we're trying to level out these peaks and troughs so we get a much kind of more static kind of line. I talk at the end of the presentation I do about productivity and self-care. I talk about kind of speed and the fact that we should try and go at a constant, steady speed across every working day, because that way we are managing the potential stress implications of the peaks by maybe working a little more efficiently, consistently, effectively in the troughs. So rather than in the troughs procrastinating, we look ahead. We go, right, when's the next peak coming? And when that next peak occurs, what could I do right now to make that peak less severe? So we're in the trough, forecasting ahead, thinking, well, right, today I could do some stuff. What shall I do? Well, have a look ahead. Have a look ahead to that peak and think, right, well, what can I do in relation to that thing, preparation wise, that means when I get there, I'm feeling kind of less stressed. For me, in my job role, it's about working ahead, working far ahead with the lecture prep, making sure my lecture prep is done weeks in advance. Not finished, not complete, but all the bits, because sometimes you can't do some stuff till the end. My memory's not so clever these days, so I can't do everything. I can't do my final preparation until the last minute, or I get there and I look at the slides and I think, whose slides are these? Why do I not know what to say in relation to this quote? I have to do that at the last minute. But the point is, I've done all the other work early on, and there are ways for us all to do them kind of things in the jobs we have. And like I say, some are shorter time frame, peaks and troughs. So how you manage your speed in the troughs will dictate the speed you need to go at when you're in the peaks. So when you're in those troughs, make sure you are making every hour of every day count. Or you will find if you procrastinate, you know, the art of ruining your life for no apparent reason, if you put it off, then it will be to do it sometime later. And if you can see peaks coming ahead, then you don't want more to do when you hit those peaks. So what can you predict? What can you predict about what's coming next? And can you do that while you're in one of these troughs? You know, and it might be just half an hour in the middle of the day. Right, I've got half an hour. What can I do about tomorrow? What can I do about the next day? What can I do about next week? One of those other troughs might be a Friday afternoon, and you know I'm fond of saying it's Wednesday. I can't believe I'm saying this. That Friday is the most important day of next week, because for all of us, Friday afternoon is largely a trough. Our productivity is low on a Friday afternoon. Why? Because most of us still work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, roughly, and we're knackered. It's Friday afternoon. We're tired. What we're going to do? We're in a trough. So what can we do in this trough? Well, what we could do is continue to be productive, but not doing something that demands a whole amount of mental, psychological effort. Let's plan next week. So making efficient and effective use of the troughs means we can even out some of the peaks. So when we hit a busy time, and again, you know, whatever job you do, you can have a think about this. But for me, the problem with delivering lectures is they take up a lot of time. So yesterday, 2.5, 3 or 4.5 hours of my day was taken up with the lectures that I delivered. In fact, it was more than that, because on the morning I read over my notes, and on lunchtime I read over my notes. So my whole day yesterday was lost to deliver lectures, which is fine. That's my job. But what's important, therefore, was for me to make sure last week on a Monday, I made sure that there was going to be nothing else, as far as I could predict, nothing else for me to do, so that I could focus on that, because that's my deep work. You know, preparing and delivering lectures is my deep work. So when I'm in that classroom, I don't want to be thinking about all the other things I might have to do. I want to be able to just stand there and deliver this lecture. I don't want to be thinking about, oh damn, I've still got next week's to prepare. It's prepared. I don't want to be thinking about, I've got 2 weeks time to prepare. It's prepared. You know what I mean? So it gives you a sense of being able to get into the deep work and relax into those more stressful moments. So I do find delivering lectures quite stressful and tiring. Not stressful in a bad way. Maybe it's eustress, which is that positive side of stress. But I do find it stressful. I find it tiring. The last thing I wanted to do yesterday afternoon when I finished delivering that lecture was start working on stuff for the next day. So I needed to have predicted, explored what I was doing today, to know that when I got to the end of yesterday, I didn't have to do anything. I did some stuff, um, but I didn't have to. I got some stuff out of the way and felt great about that. So it's riding the peaks and troughs. What we're trying to do is do enough in the troughs so when we hit the peaks aren't as high. And over time, and this is hard to start with. This is hard to start with when you first start thinking this way. It's really difficult, because you think, actually, I'm knackered. I'm in a trough. I could do with a rest. And I do talk about the importance of rest, micro rests during the day and all that kind of thing. Lunch breaks, you need to take those. But when you're in the trough, don't let those micro breaks become half an hour, 40 minutes of faffing about with stuff, not getting anything done. So when you're in those troughs, work as hard to start with, work as hard as you might have been working in the peaks, and eventually the peaks will start to come down, because the peaks become less stressful, and you start to work in a kind of steady state. So you're not going too slow, you're not going too fast. Um, Inevitably, things jump up at us that need doing, and that kind of thrusts us into a peak. But if everything's organised, you can manage those bits of chaos that get thrown at us a lot more effectively. So there you go. Manage the peaks and troughs by thinking about what to do in the troughs, not thinking about how you cope with the peaks. What you do in the troughs will help you cope with the peaks. There you go. That's today. That's Wednesday. Hump day. This is a bit of a peak, isn't it? I always find, it's a bit of a peak hump day. We get over hump day and we're on our way to the weekend we deserve. So enjoy hump day. and have a think about what you do in your troughs. Catch you later.